Hello everyone, this is Matt with InvestorFeed, and in this training, I'm going to be revealing the future of high net worth investor paid advertising, and this is exactly how our $100 billion plus high net worth investor audiences have unlocked the ability to advertise direct to investor online with Facebook and Google Ads. So here is each and every section that we'll be covering in this training today. In section number 1, I'm going to be introducing the new predictable, automated, and scalable method of connecting with high net worth investors online. In section number 2, I'm going to be covering exactly how our InvestorFeed $100 billion plus investor audience network works with our base investor audiences and then also our lookalike investor audiences. In section number 3, I'm going to be covering exactly why most fail to do high net worth investor paid ads without InvestorFeed. And then finally, in section number 4, we're going to be discovering our proprietary digital fundraising operating system to raising capital on autopilot for virtually any business venture. So let's begin. So if you're a large institution raising hundreds of millions of dollars to billions of dollars, or even a smaller individual or firm raising millions to tens of millions of dollars, I'm sure you've already figured out that the world of capital raising is shifting. We are no longer in a zero interest rate or a ZIRP environment where small or large investors are flush with cash to invest in virtually anything. There's extreme unpredictability in the macro environment with wars, geopolitical and economic instability, and large institutional bank failures. There's more competition than ever before, with investors having a wide selection of different investment opportunities and funds to invest in. Investors have expectations for higher returns in order to combat the higher inflationary and interest rate macro environment. And lastly, we're moving into more of a digital first era where people are online for more time of the day than they are offline, and also busier than ever before with their attention scattered across, hundreds of different things. So what is the result? Well, it's getting harder to get investors to actually invest with you. So what is the solution? Well, here's a recent article titled Taking Private Equity Fundraising to the Next Level, authored by the partners of Big Three global consulting firm Bain & Company, doing around $6 billion per year, working with the largest private equity firms, hedge funds, and Fortune 500 companies, describing exactly how to raise even more capital in today's current environment. And what is their solution? Well, as you can see on the right side here, they say winning the race for scarce capital increasingly means building best-in-class commercial capabilities. So what does that mean exactly? Well, as you can see on the left side here, they say strong performance and skill at relationship building will obviously always be at the heart of raising new capital, but effective fundraising strategies in the current environment look more like enterprise sales tactics that software companies, financial services firms, and other large B2B sellers rely on every single day. So modern day capital raisers need to adapt now or get left behind. So now let me introduce you to our proprietary system that we've developed over the course of years to directly apply the core principles of B2B digital direct response marketing, just like Bain & Company was talking about, specifically for fundraising in virtually any industry. So here is our direct to investor or D2I digital fundraising motion. So the traditional strategies of raising capital in more of a one-to-one manual format were obviously very inconsistent, time and effort inefficient, and mostly unpredictable once you've actually tapped out of your closest network. So the first step traditionally would be utilizing some form of manual one-to-one attention generation strategy to actually get in front of investors, such as cold calling, cold emailing, or in-person networking and meetups, which is normally where the majority of your time would be spent, working up to 40 plus hours per week, with most of your time basically just being wasted on unqualified and uninterested prospects, which is just incredibly inefficient. Then, hopefully, if you're lucky, you'll be able to get some prospects that are actually somewhat interested and manually convert them into an outbound cold lead within your pipeline with the potential to invest with you. Then, next, you'll need to begin performing manual one-to-one nurturing of the leads in your pipeline, spending a large majority of your own time personally answering all their questions, wining and dining them, building a connection with them, and educating them, once again, manually on your investment thesis. with the hope that in the final step of the process, after all that time you spent getting their attention and nurturing them over the course of months or even years, that they'll actually end up investing with you. But as we all know, the final result is very unpredictable. That's not normally how it turns out. And most of the time it ends up being a big waste of time and effort. But now the new way with digital fundraising, to start off, we create and film our perfect pitch for our investment in a video, and then we set up a simple ad campaign to present our perfect video pitch in a one-to-many format directly in front of high net worth investors online, non-intrusively inside their social media newsfeed for as little as $50 per 1,000 investor views. On these different social media platforms, with virtually zero manual personal time and effort required. So you film your perfect pitch, and then you can basically run paid advertising directly in front of your qualified prospects at basically an infinite scale, depending on your advertising spend. So it's the ultimate form of leverage. And then in the next step, investors will self-select your video ad by clicking on it in their newsfeed, displaying clear interest and intent in your investment, and fill out all of their contact information on your website to convert into an inbound warm lead within your pipeline. Once again, all happening automatically in the background with zero personal manual time or effort required on your part after setting all this up. Once again, the ultimate form of leverage. Then in the next step, you'll be able to nurture your prospective investor leads in a one-to-many format, just like with our attention generation, through social media and email automations with high quality educational content that they can watch on their own time at any time to build a connection, educate, and nurture the leads within your pipeline in a super high leverage format where you create that content once and it can be watched by a virtually infinite number of people at one time. And then you can continually provide value and educate your leads forever with that content while it stays up published on the internet. It's that simple. And then finally, once you're actually ready to launch your investment offering, you can send out a couple emails to your pipeline. And then also what you can do is leverage the engagement data from your content and your website, from your different content and website, to have your investor relations team actually prioritize their outreach to the most engaged and qualified leads based on the actual data with the highest intent to invest, allowing you to be super efficient with your actual manual time and effort when reaching out to these prospects. So that is the direct to investor, or D2I, digital fundraising motion. So why is D2I, digital fundraising, ultimately the superior strategy to connect with individual high net worth investors in this new digital first era? So as you can see on the left side here, as we talked about, with traditional fundraising, it's extremely inefficient to perform manual one-to-one outreach to these different investors through cold calling, through in-person networking. It's very low leverage, and you could spend 40 plus hours per week and basically get no results whatsoever. So it's a complete waste of time, very inefficient in comparison to digital fundraising, where it's virtually infinitely scalable, utilizing this one-to-many high net worth investor acquisition system. We film our perfect pitch, we set up the advertising campaign, and then we can scale up that advertising campaign to a virtually infinite amount of investors based on our operational capacity. Then next we move into the marketing strategies. So as we talked about with traditional fundraising, it's more of a cold, outbound, unpredictable marketing strategy because there's unknown interest. You don't know if the person's actually interested in what you have to offer, or it's even if it's the perfect timing or not for them. In comparison to digital fundraising, where it's inbound, intent-based marketing. So they see your advertisement in their newsfeed, qualified high net worth investors. They self-select that advertisement, the people that actually are interested. They land on your website. They educate themselves on your investment thesis. And then ultimately, if they're interested, they show clear intent by actually filling out all their contact information and coming to you interested in what you have to offer. It's a complete differentiation in the actual positioning of your marketing. Then next we move into the data profiles. So when you're utilizing traditional fundraising strategies, there's basically no technology involved. So you have a very minimal individual data profile on the specific person that prospect that you're targeting. So maybe you know their job title, maybe you have some form of estimation of their demographics, of how much, if they're accredited investor or not. And then you have basically no behavioral data on them because you don't know what websites they're visiting. You don't know virtually anything about them other than maybe their job title or their estimated demographics. In comparison to with digital fundraising, where these ad platforms, Facebook, Google, they basically know you or any qualified investor more than they even know themselves. They have an extensive, dynamically updated individual user data profile for every single one of the users on their platform. So they know everything about their demographics. They know they have all their financial data. They know all the behaviors. So they know every single website that this specific person has visited. They know all the posts that they like. They know what groups they're in. So they have a massive user data database, which you can utilize to target your exact ideal investor avatar profile. And then finally, lastly here, we have automated gradual pixel targeting optimization. So with traditional fundraising, there's no optimization whatsoever. If you acquire one single investor, it doesn't help you acquire the next investor. But with digital fundraising, and this is a great part of the technology here for digital fundraising, is that you have automated gradual pixel targeting optimization, meaning that the more people, the more qualified investors that fill out their contact information on your lead form on your website, the more conversions you're able to get into your pipeline, the better the targeting becomes with these advertising platforms. It's called pixel optimization. So basically you place the pixel, the Facebook or Google pixel on your website, and the more conversions you get on that pixel, the AI within their advertising platforms, it learns more about the people that are interested in what you have to offer. So the more conversions you're able to get on that pixel, the better their AI targeting is going to be at targeting your exact ideal investor profile. So this right here is exactly why D2I, digital fundraising, is ultimately the superior strategy to connect with individual high net worth investors in this digital first era in comparison to traditional fundraising. So the only problem is, traditionally, it has actually been very complicated and expensive to target specifically high net worth investors with paid advertising online until now. Introducing InvestorFeed, our $100 billion plus high net worth investor audience network. So the problem is there's billions of users online, but only approximately 14% of the USA actually qualify as accredited investors or someone who's actually able to invest a reasonable amount into your fund, syndication, etc. So the question becomes, how do you focus your resources and efforts on engaging only specifically this qualified high net worth investor audience? Well, the solution is our InvestorFeed pre-built $100 billion plus investor audiences, which can be directly uploaded into any advertising platform as a custom audience to target with paid advertising in just a couple clicks. So in a nutshell, InvestorFeed has unlocked the ability to advertise direct to investor on the internet by forcing these advertising platforms to only show ads to our proprietary $100 billion plus network of pre-qualified high net worth investors. So InvestorFeed has truly democratized the fundraising process by enabling capital raisers to advertise directly to high net worth investors right in their newsfeed with zero gatekeepers involved. No one is stopping you. So for capital raisers, it gives anyone with an idea and a dream the ability to advertise their investment directly in front of our $100 billion plus proprietary data network of pre-qualified high net worth investors to raise capital without cold calling, meetups, or even leaving your home office. So we've truly democratized and decentralized the fundraising process. You're no longer beholden to a small exclusive group of gatekeepers on Wall Street or Silicon Valley anymore that will ultimately decide if your idea will be seen or not. And we don't even charge any percentage of capital raised like crowdfunding or capital raising agencies, allowing you to save hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. And this system isn't just good for the capital raisers, it's also good for the investors as well, because it gives high net worth investors the ability to view quality investment opportunities instead of just random ads non-intrusively inside their social media newsfeed online on their own time without any annoying interruptions. So zero cold calls or cold emails. And then investors have complete control to self-select which investment opportunities they want to interact with. So if they like the deal, all they have to do is click on the advertisement, fill out their contact information, and contact the company. If they don't like the deal, Once again, very non-intrusive. They can just continuously keep on scrolling through the newsfeed just as they were doing before. So this system that we've developed right here with InvestorFeed is good for both parties involved. It's good for the capital raisers so they can get in front of high net worth investors, and it's also good for the investors who can view quality investment opportunities non-intrusively inside their social media newsfeed, and all of their contact information is kept 100% private, protected, and fully encrypted. Okay, so now that we understand the core value proposition behind InvestorFeed, what I'd like to do is more of a deep dive into exactly how our proprietary investor audiences are built and how they work in order to achieve our desired results of targeting pre-qualified high net worth investors. So I'm sure you've most likely heard the very popular quote, "Data is the new oil." So the world's most valuable resource is no longer oil, but data. That comes from The Economist. From Forbes, data is the new oil, and that's a good thing. Wired Magazine, data is the new oil of the digital economy. Data in the 21st century is like oil in the 18th century, an immensely untapped, valuable asset. So this is especially true when it comes to specifically paid digital advertising. I would go as far as to say that data is actually the oil, the metaphorical oil of paid advertising platforms, because the number one most important component of your paid advertising in order to target your exact ideal investor avatar is specifically data. So what personal data do advertising platforms like Facebook and Google actually have on their billions of users that we can utilize for targeting? Well, the answer may scare you. So here's a graphic that we've created in order to show the complete breakdown of the massive individual data profiles that these advertising platforms like Facebook and Google actually own on each and every one of their users for the lifetime of their actual accounts on that platform, which could be 10 plus years of accumulated data. So we've broken it down into 4 different segments. We have the demographic data points, we have the financial data points, we have the interest data points, and then the most important, the behavioral data points. So demographic data points include education, their entire family tree, their gender information, their marital status, their age, their entire location history. Then we move into the financial data. So they buy this data from, there's tons of different data providers out there, and they buy this data so that they have this entire accumulated data set on every single one of their users. So for financial, they have the person's specific estimated salary, they have their estimated net worth, they have their entire job history, they have their credit score, they have their home ownership details and the entire history of home ownership, they have all the details on their debt that they currently have, if they have any debt, they have all the details of their car ownership, so the entire history of car ownership. Interest data, so they know all the TV channels that you watch, they know all the news websites that you visit, they know your political leaning, they understand all of your different hobbies, they understand the different interest clusters, they understand and know your religion, they know the different sports that you like. And then we move into the behavioral data. So this is all the on-platform behavioral data, so the posts that you've liked or disliked on their platforms, the engagement, they know which advertisements you've liked, which advertisements you clicked on, etc. They know all of your offline purchases because that's uploaded directly back into their platform for their advertising. For advertising purposes from different companies. They understand all of the websites that you have converted on. So any website that that has a Facebook pixel or a Google pixel on it that you've typed in your information on, they have that as a conversion for your specific user profile. They understand all the different emails that you've opened and clicked. They understand all the groups that you've joined. They have your entire browsing history. So this right here, it may sound scary, but this is actually the real life complete breakdown of the actual massive individual data profiles that these advertising platforms own on virtually every single one of the users on their platform, once again, for the entire lifetime of their account. So 10 plus years of accumulated data on virtually every single one of their 1 billion plus users. It's absolutely insane, but this is the honest truth. So for us personally, the paid advertisers, the number one goal of any modern day digital paid advertising campaign at a core level is to leverage this exact data to target your perfect audience at the perfect moment when they're in market for your specific solution based on that behavioral data with the perfect ad creative that actually attracts them to click. That is the number one goal of the modern day digital paid advertising campaign. So here are the 3 components that you need to optimize for your paid advertising campaign. So number 1, we have the audience targeting. So this is going to be the selected audience with specific characteristics and attributes that you want to show your ads to with your paid advertising campaign. Then we move into number 2, which is going to be the advertising creative. So this is the creative design setup of your advertisement, including your headline, the body text of your advertisement, the image or video that you're utilizing in order to attract your ideal investor avatar to click your advertising creative. And then number 3, we kind of talked about this already, but the AI conversion pixel optimization. So this is the ad platform's AI machine learning algorithm that gradually optimizes your ad campaign targeting based on that newly acquired conversion data. So these 3 components, these 3 levers right here will ultimately determine how successful your paid advertising campaign will be in connecting with your ideal investor avatar, and then also at the lowest cost possible. So here is a high-level overview of exactly what a paid advertising high net worth investor lead generation campaign would look like. So we start off with the actual advertising creative, so the Facebook ad. So this plays a major role in the success of your campaign, so you need to make sure that you have truly created your perfect pitch video in order to attract your perfect investors. So that's step number 1. Then step number 2, we move into the audience targeting. So audience targeting for specifically the financial or investment type category on ad platforms without InvestorFeed is very, very restricted. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit further into this training right here. But that's step number 2. So you have your Facebook ad. Now you need to target the specific audience that you want to target with your paid advertising. And then number 3, move into the lead form. So this is exactly where your prospects are going to go once they actually self-select your Facebook advertisement and click on the advertisement. Then they're going to move over to your lead form. And once again, as you can see in the upper right-hand corner right there, the pixel, either going to be Facebook or Google, you put that pixel directly onto your website with your lead form. And for every single person that actually types in their contact information, that counts as a conversion. And then once you get that conversion, it's going to send that information directly back into their AI targeting optimization algorithm. So you can basically look at every single advertising campaign as a mini AI model. And with every lead that you convert on your website, you are essentially feeding the ad platform pixel, training their AI machine learning model to hone in their AI targeting on your exact ideal investor avatar data profile on their platform, utilizing all of that accumulated data we talked about on each and every user to generate the highest quality leads at even lower costs. So if you feed the pixel with quality conversion data, you're going to get better targeting on your exact ideal investor avatar. But if you feed it with bad data, the exact opposite can happen. And we're going to talk about exactly that problem a little bit further into this training as well. So that is a high-level breakdown of exactly what a high net worth investor lead generation campaign looks like using paid advertising. So what is the number 1 reason why it's traditionally been very complicated and expensive, and it's only getting worse, to target specifically high net worth investors with paid ads on Facebook and Google? Well, it's that in a perfect world, ad platforms will be able to actually use their massive amount of data points that we just talked about on their 1 billion person plus user base to target your exact qualified ideal investor avatar. But unfortunately, that's not the case. So what is the increasingly worsening problem with traditional paid ad platform audience targeting? So you may have heard about this a little here and there in the news, but the government and other platforms like Apple have been creating some major problems for ad platforms in being able to actually utilize their massive databases to allow advertisers to target their exact customer profiles. You can see some articles here, such as from the Washington Post. Facebook settles with the Department of Justice over discriminatory housing ads. So basically what the result of that was Facebook had to basically revamp their entire social networks targeting system in order and remove a bunch of different targeting options based on, gender, financial income, etc. So this is exactly what's happening. They're getting these paid advertising platforms are getting cracked down on, which is only reducing their ability to actually target the exact audiences that you want to get your advertisements in front of. This is the increasingly worsening problem that's just getting worse and worse every single year. So what is the result? Well, the result is we legitimately cannot set up paid advertising campaigns to target specifically qualified high net worth investors, period. The audience targeting options are not available on the Facebook or Google ad platforms. You can't target based on finances. You can't target specifically qualified high net worth investors on Facebook or Google. That is the problem here. And wait, it gets even worse. So the number one reason why the majority of paid advertisers fail with high net worth investor lead generation is something we like to call the false AI optimization spiral of death. So like I said before, every ad campaign is basically a mini AI model that optimizes based on the conversion data that you feed the algorithm. So you feed the algorithm good data and you get better targeting and better results. But you feed the algorithm bad data and you get worse targeting and worse results. And if you don't believe me, listen to what billionaire CEO of Dell Technologies, Michael Dell, has to say about the importance of data for AI, where he says, without data, you have no AI, and with bad data, you have bad AI. So the exact reason that most paid advertisers fail with high net worth investor lead generation is perfectly described in the diagram on the left side here. So they start off running their paid advertising campaigns with that bad restricted targeting. They generate bad unqualified conversions. That conversion data is then sent back to the AI targeting pixel, and the AI targeting pixel then optimizes for an even more unqualified audience. Then you generate even more unqualified conversions, and it's just a continuous spiral of death. And ultimately, you shut down your advertising campaigns and you waste a ton of money. That right there is our false AI optimization spiral death. And unfortunately, there's very little you can do about it because of the increasingly worsening amount of targeting restrictions on virtually all ad platforms until now. Because what if, instead of hoping and praying that ad platforms somehow target your actual financially qualified ideal investor avatar, especially with all the current plus new restrictions and limitations of audience targeting being applied virtually every single year, as we saw, what if you could simply just select one of our pre-built investor audiences inside InvestorFeed with your exact financially qualified ideal investor avatar and upload them directly into your ad platform to target with paid advertising in just a couple clicks, and future-proof your financial niche paid advertising capabilities by legally circumventing virtually all restrictions and limitations on ad platforms. Introducing our investor audience network. So we have two different types of investor audiences. I'm going to go into a high level and then we'll go into more detail in exactly how we create these audiences. So we have on the left side here our base investor audience, and then we have on the right side our lookalike investor audiences. So our base investor audiences are essentially pre-built, dynamically updated seed data sets of high net worth investor avatars with custom curated specific behaviors, characteristics, and attributes that directly indicate the highest likelihood to invest across a variety of different investment types. So those are our base investor audiences. Then we have our lookalike investor audiences, which are pre-built 1 million person plus expanded lookalike data sets, which leverage the ad platform's powerful AI algorithms plus their massive user databases to identify an audience that directly match the attributes and behaviors of your uploaded seed audience with the highest statistical relevance score. So now let's go into more detail on exactly how we create our base investor audiences. So our team of data engineers manually compile data sets utilizing a variety of legal and compliant data sources, including data providers, public records, our own proprietary research and development, paid data acquisition department, and then also strategic data ad and website network partnerships. Then, once we compile those data sets, we leverage AI-powered algorithms to scan the billions of data points and build our own proprietary investor audiences, with each investor audience custom tailored for different investment niches based on these different intent and demographic data attribute layered combinations. And then also our investor audiences are dynamically updated with fresh new investors on a daily basis. So, There are two components to our custom-built proprietary base investor audiences that essentially allow us to target the most qualified high net worth investors based on demographic data, and then we layer that with the highest likelihood to invest in specific different investment markets based on our real intent signals. So the demographic data points that we utilize in our investor audiences include factors such as different financial demographics such as credit score, home and car ownership details, debt, and others, which we can utilize to include or even exclude to further clean our data set to remove any false positives. Then we have the estimated net worth and salary data points. So this is going to be obviously our core data points used to curate our investor audiences. So we add only the most qualified high net worth investors, plus also even better, build certain hyper targeted investor audiences that target only the most wealthy investors possible in the USA that have the most potential to invest big amounts with you, which is just the ultimate form of leverage. And we'll be talking about that a little bit further into the video here as well. Next, we have age. So if you want to target different ideal investor avatars for different investment types, like for example, if we have a real estate investment fund, we would want to advertise to maybe a more older 50 plus retirement age profile as compared to a crypto fund where you would want to advertise to maybe more of a younger 25 to 30 demographic. So that's what this demographic data point allows us to do with our data sets. Next, education. So this is both a demographic data point to build investor audiences targeting specifically high income potential demographics like Ivy League graduates or people with master's degrees, but also this could be somewhat of a intent data point as well based on the industry type of their educational degree. So that's another data point. Then we have gender. So this is another great benefit of our investor audiences, which is that it can help you in personalizing your advertising with a specific demographic personalized creative. So let's say, for example, if you have a woman fund manager or spokesperson, then by being able to utilize our investor audience with the woman personalized demographic, you can advertise to specifically the woman demographic. So you're able to basically increase the response rates of your advertising creative. Then we move into the job title. So similar to education, by being able to advertise to a specific job title, it helps in the financial demographic qualification of the prospect, but also it can be utilized as more of an intent data point as well based on the job industry. So for example, if someone's working in tech, they most likely are would be more interested in investing in tech in comparison to someone who's working in real estate. Maybe they'd be more, would most likely be more interested in investing in real estate. And then lastly, we have the location data point. So this demographic data point can be incredibly helpful by allowing you to advertise to only specifically qualified investors that live in certain locations. Like for example, if you have a real estate deal in a certain area, you have more potential to close investors that live closer to that specific property. So then once we have our base of qualified investors based on specific demographic data points, we can then further enhance the data set by layering in our real intent data points to really hone in on the qualified high net worth investors that are most likely to invest in a variety of different investment types. So we use the name here, real intent data points, to put emphasis on the fact that these are actual real actual actions of intent compared to traditional targeting options without InvestorFeed by ad platforms like Facebook, where their indication of intent is someone just randomly liking a post in their newsfeed related to a specific interest, which has little relevance. And that's another reason why most paid advertisers, especially in the financial or investment niche, are struggling, because they don't have those targeting capabilities. So the real intent data points that we utilize in our investor audiences include factors such as keyword searches or websites visited. So these are both very similar, but essentially through our partnerships with different data providers and website networks with billions of dynamically updated data points generated virtually every single day, we are able to build data sets of investors that have typed in certain keywords or visited certain websites related to a specific investment type. So for example, if someone has typed in real estate investing or visited related websites to real estate investing, then that would be a great real intent data point to layer into our investor audience to hone in our targeting on interested investors for specifically real estate related investment opportunities. Once again, based on actual real intent data. Then next, move into purchase history. So this may be an even better indicator of real intent than keyword searches or websites visited, as people who actually take out their wallet and spend their money on products and services in a specific industry are always considered better prospects that would most likely convert at a higher rate. So that's another factor. And then we have investment history. So this is obviously the number one real intent indicator right here. So this should be a simple one to understand, but let's say, for example, we identify through public record or a data provider all the investors that have purchased at least $1 million of multifamily property in the USA. And then we layer that with specific demographic data points to build an investor audience that you can upload into your ad account and target with paid advertising for your real estate fund. Right there, that is basically the most powerful paid ad audience you could possibly ever build right there, specifically if you're running a real estate fund. These are the exact people that you want to target with paid advertising, and that's why our investor audiences are so incredibly powerful, because we're able to build these type of audiences that we can target with paid advertising. And then this is a unique one right here. To end off, we have business owner niches. So this is a very unique, creative real intent data point that's incredibly powerful as well, because not a lot of people know this, but the majority of businesses actually have what's called a SIC, or a standard industrial classification code, which basically classifies the business into a certain industry of business, so the government can basically track them. So we've engineered our own fully compliant proprietary AI-powered B2B2C, so business to business to consumer data enrichment process, which essentially allows us to identify the business owner's consumer content data profiles at a mass scale. So this is pretty advanced, but we then leverage this B2B2C data enrichment process to build large data sets of business owners in certain business industries, which actually display real intent for a specific investment type based on the industry that they have a business in. And then we can layer that data set with financial qualification demographic data points based on, let's say, for example, their net worth, etc., to build our super powerful hyper-targeted investor audiences. So this right here is our exact AI-powered proprietary demographic and real intent layering process to build what I believe to be the most powerful investor audiences that you could possibly have for paid advertising in almost any financial or investment industry, period. And just to make this very, very clear, you legitimately cannot even build audiences this powerful, hyper-targeted yourself manually through just paid advertising. It's technically impossible, and this is exactly why InvestorFeed is such a truly revolutionary thin ad tech product for almost any type of fund, syndication, or just anyone looking to raise capital for their idea across virtually any investment industry. So what we do next is we then leverage our custom-built proprietary-based investor audiences as seed audiences to generate the number one goldmine audiences for paid advertisers on Facebook or Google, which is our Lookalike investor audiences. So let's go into a high-level overview of exactly how we create our Lookalike investor audiences. So to start off, we take our base seed investor audiences of clean data sets with custom-tailored investment niche-specific intent and demographic attribute combinations. We take those exact base seed investor audiences, we upload those directly into ad platforms such as Facebook or Google, and then they leverage their own powerful AI machine learning lookalike modeling algorithms to scan their entire user base and then build a custom expanded 1 million person plus lookalike audience data set of their users that you can utilize to target with paid advertising based on their scary set of data points for the entire 10-year lifetime of virtually every single user on their platform that directly match the exact patterns of characteristics, attributes, and on-platform behavioral data of your exact uploaded seed audience with the highest statistical relevance score. So that was pretty advanced right there, but let me give you a example scenario to help break this down a little bit better on exactly how our proprietary lookalike investor audience modeling process works. So as we can see in the graphic here, in step number one, we build our seed audience. So we build a clean seed audience of 3,264 data profiles with specific custom curated attributes, including our entire seed audience being male. Number two, the seed audience is of 3,264 people are all 50 plus years old. They all have a net worth of over $3 million. They all have a yearly income of over $250,000. And also, they also all own at least $1 million in multifamily real estate. So then in step number 2, we upload that seed audience into the ad platform such as Facebook, and they will scan their entire massive user database of over 1 billion plus users. And then they're going to identify a grouping of at least 1 million plus users that best match the attributes of your uploaded seed audience with the highest statistical relevance score. Once again, based on the scary amount of data points and behavioral actions they have on each and every user for the lifetime of their account. And then in step number 3, Facebook's going to build a custom hyper-targeted lookalike investor audience of 1 million plus users for us to use, which we can then upload into our Facebook ad account so we can directly target them with paid advertising, in comparison to virtually no targeting if you're going to go the traditional route without our investor audiences, with all of Facebook's completely restricted targeting. So that's exactly how our lookalike investor audiences work. We take a seed audience of an exact perfect ideal pre-qualified ideal investor avatar. We upload that directly into the ad platform. Their lookalike modeling algorithms scan their entire user base to find the people that best match our seed audience, and then they build a 1 million person plus expanded lookalike audience that we can then target with paid advertising. That is the power of lookalike investor audiences. So these lookalike investor audiences would normally cost up to $1 to $10 million plus in paid advertising to build up your own first-party data set to be able to generate them. But with InvestorFeed, you're able to upload them directly into your ad platform with a single click. And that is one of the main value propositions of InvestorFeed. We've custom engineered the most powerful lookalike investor audiences that you could possibly own, period. So to understand the true gravity and significance of the value proposition for our lookalike investor audiences, we created this graphic just to break down the actual real life costs and time it would normally require to generate a lookalike audience with traditional paid advertising. And then the new way to replace this traditional expensive and lengthy custom first-party data lookalike audience creation process with InvestorFeed by simply just uploading our pre-made lookalike investor audiences into your ad account with a single click. So the old way, so traditionally in order to build a custom lookalike audience, you would need to start from complete scratch, maybe even worse with a brand new fresh ad account with zero data. And then you would then set up a Facebook ad campaign with a creative and also highly restrictive audience targeting, as we already talked about, how restrictive, increasingly worse the audience targeting is getting on ad platforms such as Facebook or Google. And then because of that those restricted targeting capabilities, the vast majority of the prospects that actually hit your lead form do not end up converting into leads, and the majority of the people that do are actually unqualified, resulting in a very high cost per qualified lead to start off with. So it's going to cost you even more money. And then you need to nurture the actual qualified leads within your pipeline and get them to ultimately invest a specific amount in order for them to now qualify as an investor. So that would be one person in your database that you can utilize. So finally, in order to actually build a lookalike audience of your investors, you will need to close at least a bare minimum of 1,000 investors. So you actually have enough data required in your seed audience to have the ability for Facebook to build the lookalike audience. So in order for Facebook or Google or any ad platform to build a lookalike audience, you need at least 1,000 investors. So let's say, for example, it cost $1,000 in paid advertising in order to just acquire one single investor for your fund. Then that would mean in order to build the exact lookalike audience that we're talking about, it would cost $1 million. So $1,000 in order to acquire an investor times 1,000 investors, it would cost you $1 million in paid advertising to generate those 1,000 data profiles for your seed audience. But then we also have to take into account time as well. So in order to be able to generate those 1,000 data profiles of investors within a 12-month time frame, that would mean you would need to be spending at least $80,000 a month in paid advertising to hit the $1 million required to build the lookalike audience by the end of 12 months. So I don't know if you're willing to spend $80,000 a month on paid advertising to start with. So let's just say you're spending just $10K per month on advertising. That would mean that it would take close to 10 years just to build this exact simple lookalike audience of 1,000 investors. So unless you're spending a lot of money on ads, it's basically been technically impossible to generate this incredibly powerful lookalike advertising audience, specifically in the financial niche, until now, where with just one single click, as you can see in the bottom graphic here, with just one single click, you can upload our even more powerful and hyper-targeted lookalike audiences worth millions of dollars right into your advertising account instantly without having to do any of that, saving you millions of dollars and also years of time as well. And this right here is exactly why we truly believe InvestorFeed is one of the most revolutionary fin ad tech products right now in the multi-billion-dollar financial advertising industry. But wait, it gets even more powerful because Facebook also has developed a feature called value-based lookalike audiences, which allows any advertiser to essentially upload their highest LTV, so lifetime value customers, which are basically the people who spent the most money with your business. And then Facebook's going to build a hyper-targeted lookalike audience of 1 million plus users, which you can target with paid advertising that are most similar to your highest value customers. So, for example, this would basically be the perfect ad targeting because now with lookalike audiences, you're going to get a higher conversion rate because those people are more like the people that have spent money with your business. But also it's even better with these value-based lookalike audiences because now, because you're uploading the people that have spent the most money with your company, now you can also target the highest spenders as well. So you have the the perfect audience to target now because you have the highest purchase rate and you also have the people who are spending the most money as well. That's who you're targeting with your paid advertising. So we've re-engineered this advanced Facebook value-based lookalike feature specifically for digital fundraising to invent what we've coined ultra wealthy lookalike investor audiences. So how do these ultra wealthy lookalike investor audiences work? Well, it's very simple. We've invented our own version of this advanced value-based lookalike audience feature where we upload seed audiences of the most wealthy investor data profiles and have Facebook build a lookalike investor audience targeting the 10 million plus ultra wealthy audience segment across the USA that's actually on their platform, once again, based on their massive data points on each and every user. So we're able to build that 1 million person plus lookalike audience of people who are the most likely to be ultra wealthy investors, plus the most likely to actually convert into an actual investment, plus even better now, be the most likely to provide the largest investment sizes because they're ultra wealthy. So just like the original example we showed for value-based lookalike audiences, this is the perfect ad targeting specifically for digital fundraising because not only are you targeting people in this lookalike audience that have the highest investor conversion rate, so the people that are most likely people that have actually become investors for you, but now because we're targeting people that are worth, let's say for example, $10 million to $25 million plus, that's the seed audience that we're uploading. Now we have people who had the most potential to invest an even larger amount with you because they're ultra wealthy. So this is the best possible audience that you can target, and it's just the ultimate form of leverage once again because now not only are you targeting people that are most likely to actually convert into investors, but now because they're more wealthy, they're also able to invest even more with you at the same time. So you can set up the same exact Facebook ad advertisement to just a simple lookalike audience, and then you can set it up to our ultra wealthy lookalike investor audience, and it's going to perform better because people are able to invest larger investment sizes since they're worth more money and they have more disposable income most likely. So that is the power of our ultra wealthy lookalike investor audiences that you can also upload directly into your advertising accounts. So now let's go into the InvestorFeed investor audience performance graph. So this is a graph of the performance optimization objectives of each type of investor audience. So there's different use cases for both the base investor audiences and also the lookalike investor audiences. So for example, if you're a smaller operation with a smaller investor relations team and are spending less money on paid advertising and want to optimize for hyper-targeted pre-built audiences with super high lead quality, resulting in a higher time and effort efficient acquisition process, then the base investor audiences may work best for you. But the only trade-off to take into account here is that because the audiences are more hyper-targeted and they're of a smaller audience size with higher quality prospects, the costs are most likely going to be higher than that of your larger expanded lookalike investor audiences. So that's the the optimization objectives for your base investor audience. If you're looking for lead quality and efficient process and a hyper-targeted audience to target with paid advertising, then the base investor audiences are for you. But if you have a use case where you have a more larger fundraising operation, for example, or are willing to sacrifice some time and effort efficiency with your investor relations team for a lower cost per lead, and then also have the ability to scale up your paid advertising to hundreds or even thousands of dollars per day because the lookalike audiences have a much larger audience size, then the lookalike investor audiences may work better for you. But once again, there's trade-offs with everything. So the only trade-off here is that the lead quality may be a little lower than the base investor audiences, since the ad platforms such as Facebook or Google are generating these lookalike audiences automatically with their own AI lookalike modeling process to determine the best prospects to add to the audience. So basically, we recommend split testing both types of investor audiences to see what works best for your specific personalized situation and generates the highest quality leads at the lowest cost possible. Okay, so now that we fully understand how our investor audiences work, let's loop back to our framework of the 3 components of a paid advertising campaign to see exactly why InvestorFeed is such an absolute game changer for any paid advertiser, specifically in the financial niche. So as we talked about, there's 3 components to every single advertising campaign. Number 1 is going to be the audience targeting. So it's going to be the selected audience that you're going to be targeting with specific characteristics and attributes that you want to show your ads to with your paid advertising campaign. Number 2, you have the advertising creative. So this is going to be the actual ad, the creative design setup of your advertisement, including the headline, body text, and image or video to attract your ideal investor avatar to click. And then we have the AI pixel optimization. So this is going to be the AI machine learning algorithm that gradually optimizes your ad campaign targeting based on your newly acquired conversion data. So the old way, so like we talked about before, the old way of advertising without InvestorFeed is you would set up a Facebook ad campaign with their highly restricted audience targeting options, resulting in low quality, unqualified prospects converting into leads on your website, which is then sending back that bad, unqualified conversion data back to your ad platform pixel to optimize to target even more unqualified audiences, causing what we've coined the false AI optimization spiral of death with higher costs and worse results, and ultimately you shutting the ad campaigns down and quitting. But now the new way with InvestorFeed, we set up that same exact ad campaign with the same exact creative and simply just upload our pre-vetted investor audiences to target with paid advertising, resulting in a much larger percentage of high quality leads on your website, which is then sending back that super high quality conversion data back to your ad platform pixel to hone in your targeting to target even higher quality audiences for better results at even lower costs. So InvestorFeed was literally the missing link to success with financial or investment related paid advertising, and we've now brought this revolutionary, game-changing fin ad tech product to the marketplace for anyone to plug directly into their digital fundraising operation with ease. And then with InvestorFeed, instead of ending up in the false AI optimization spiral of death and shutting down your ad campaigns with tens of thousands of dollars wasted, you're able to build what we've coined a data economies of scale. So similar to the traditional economies of scale concept where companies like Amazon are able to achieve a competitive moat with lower cost at scale, with InvestorFeed, we're able to unlock the ability to build a digital fundraising data economies of scale competitive advantage moat where the more quality conversion data you feed your ad platform AI optimization pixel, the more optimized the targeting of your ideal investor avatar becomes at even lower costs. And then ultimately, the farther you're able to accelerate ahead of your competitors when everyone begins to enter the digital ad market over the next couple of years. So right now is the perfect moment in time to get in on the ground floor of this digital fundraising process with InvestorFeed so that you can build that data economies of scale competitive advantage moat when everyone else in the fundraising scene begins to enter the market over the next couple of years, because obviously they're going to catch on when these strategies are so incredibly powerful. Okay, so for more of the analytical people watching, here's an actual complete breakdown in a real life scenario of the actual attributable KPI metric benefits and cost savings from simply just leveraging InvestorFeed with all other variables kept constant, literally no other changes. These are all of the resulting higher cost and worse performance metrics that you're settling for without InvestorFeed. So let's go into the Facebook ad metrics to start off with. So your cost per 1,000 impressions is going to be higher because your ad platform pixel is optimizing on bad data, resulting in targeting lower quality, unqualified audiences with a large amount of ad fraud and spam, drastically increasing your effective cost per 1,000 impressions. So the amount of people that are actually seeing your advertisements, the cost per 1,000 impressions. Then next we move into the click-through rate. So this is obviously going to be lower because if you're targeting a lower quality, unqualified, and uninterested audiences, then less people are going to end up clicking on your ads simply because it's not relevant to them. Then we move into the next step here for your Facebook ad, which is going to be a higher overall cost per click. So because if you have a higher cost per 1,000 impressions, then also less people are clicking on your advertisements per 1,000 impressions, then your effective cost per click is going to ultimately be higher by default. So that's the Facebook ad metrics that become much worse without InvestorFeed. Then we move into the lead form. So the lead form metrics, you're going to have a lower overall lead form and qualified lead rate because if we're targeting bad unqualified audiences and our ad platform pixel is optimizing on bad conversion data, then we will convert leads at a lower percentage, obviously, and also a lower percentage of those actual converted leads will most likely be less qualified as well, and most likely a large percentage will be spam, which is normally what you'll see is one of the biggest problems without InvestorFeed, that most of the leads that do convert won't be qualified. So that rate will definitely be a lot lower. And then next we move into the cost per lead and the cost per qualified lead, which is obviously going to be higher because your cost per click is higher and also your lead conversion rate and qualified lead rate is lower. So this will ultimately result in a spiraling effect of higher cost per qualified lead. Then we can move into the actual investment metrics. So your lead to investor conversion rate, so the amount of people that become a qualified lead that actually convert into investor. So because you're targeting lower quality leads, plus also your pixel is optimizing on bad leads, this will result in a lower percentage of your leads actually being high enough quality that actually end up converting into an actual investor. And then because of that, you're going to have a higher cost per investor. So this is basically your final downstream metric you're optimizing for. You want this cost to be as low as possible to convert prospects into actual investors from paid advertising. But the problem is without InvestorFeed, since you have a higher cost per 1,000 impressions right off the bat, a higher cost per click, a higher cost per qualified lead, and a lower lead to investor conversion rate, this will ultimately result in a spiral of higher costs for your cost per investor and a lower overall return on your ad spend with everything else kept constant. So the worst it could possibly be. And then we move into investment size, which is obviously going to be lower since you're targeting lower quality audiences. The qualified investors will most likely only invest minimal amounts, $50,000 to $100,000. And then finally, the total capital raised and net capital raised. So because you're spending more money on paid advertising in order to actually acquire an investor, and you're receiving less of an investment size from them when they do invest, you will ultimately raise less capital from your advertising campaign with the same amount of ad spend without InvestorFeed. And there's even more attributable benefits to InvestorFeed that need to be taken into account as well, as you can see on the right side of the chart here. So deal cycle speed. So obviously with InvestorFeed, you're going to have a greatly accelerated deal cycle speed as you're targeting our much higher quality audiences that are both financially qualified and showing intent to invest as well, based on those data points that we talked about. Next, pixel optimization, lead flow, predictability, and scalability. So when you're feeding the ad platform pixel with high quality conversion data using InvestorFeed, it will help optimize, stabilize, and ultimately hone in your targeting on your ideal investor avatar, enabling a more predictable and scalable lead flow. As we kind of talked about already, ad fraud and spam. So studies have found that up to 30+% of advertising spend is wasted on ad fraud, spam, and bots with traditional targeting on ad platforms, which is completely mitigated with InvestorFeed when we are manually uploading our custom pre-vetted investor audiences. So you're saving up to 30% of ad spend right off the bat by utilizing our investor audiences. Next, we have retargeting data quality. So because when you have high quality prospective investors clicking your ad to your website, you are then able to retarget the percentage that don't actually initially convert, but are actually qualified to reconvert a certain percentage into leads and ultimately reduce your effective cost per lead with paid advertising when utilizing InvestorFeed because you have the higher quality anonymous retargeting data. Next, ad platform restrictions. So obviously with InvestorFeed, you're able to future-proof your paid advertising acquisition system by being able to circumvent the increasing targeting restrictions we talked about being placed on virtually all ad platforms. Next, we move into ad personalization. So this is a very unique, underutilized benefit of InvestorFeed, where we can actually create very specific, hyper-targeted audiences of ideal investor avatars, like, for example, financially qualified doctors, so a specific job title, and then personalize our advertising creative to speak directly to that avatar to drastically boost response rates to your ads. So that's just another powerful benefit of being able to utilize InvestorFeed. Then we move into investor relations time and effort efficiencies. So with InvestorFeed, obviously, when you're getting a much larger percentage of qualified, intent-driven, interested, prospective investors, it will allow your investor relations team to be more efficient with their time and efforts. And then finally, repeat investors and referrals. So when you're bringing in higher quality investors with more capital available, utilizing InvestorFeed and our investor audiences and the intent to invest in your specific industry, it will result in more repeat investments and referrals to their friends if you actually provide those quality returns. So in a nutshell here, after going through this entire, all the different actual attributable benefits of utilizing InvestorFeed, in a nutshell, the main question here is, do you agree with Big Three consulting firm Bain & Company that digital fundraising is ultimately going to be the number one most efficient way to raise capital moving forward? If the answer is yes, then you are simply just going to be settling for higher cost with worse results with your paid advertising if you do not use InvestorFeed, as we just broken down. It's that simple. So logically, there's no reason why you wouldn't use InvestorFeed if you're going to be moving forward with this digital fundraising motion. But as we talked about, InvestorFeed is just one component of our entire digital fundraising operating system to raise millions of dollars in capital on autopilot for virtually any business venture. So once again, as we saw in the Bain & Company article, effective fundraising isn't just about advertising. It isn't just about using InvestorFeed. Effective fundraising in the current environment looks more like the enterprise sales tactics that software companies, financial services, service firms, and other large B2B sellers rely on every single day. And that's exactly what we've created with our digital fundraising operating system. We combined the core B2B direct response marketing principles in combination with digital fundraising in order to create our digital fundraising operating system to raise capital on autopilot 24/7, 365. So there's 9 different components to our digital fundraising operating system. In component number 1 is going to be our unique investment thesis. So this is where you craft the unique and differentiated thesis behind your core investment strategy to promote to high net worth investors for enhanced response and overall advertising performance. Then once that's completed, we move into our online investor attraction platform, where you lay the foundation of your online platform, your digital presence, to attract your ideal investor avatar and educate them on your unique investment thesis with relevant evergreen content across all of your different social media channels. Then we move into our ChatGPT AI content creation engine, which allows you to deploy cutting-edge AI technology to automate the creation of high-quality, engaging content across all online platforms with unmatched efficiency. Then we move into our content conversion content amplification formula, where you're going to be leveraging our InvestorFeed investor audiences with paid advertising platforms to instantly amplify that targeted conversion content directly to our $100 billion plus network of pre-qualified high net worth investors within our investor audiences. Then we move into intent-based inbound acquisition investor funnels, which is where you're going to be systematizing your inbound high net worth investor lead flow with an automated acquisition investor funnel that converts ice cold strangers into interested investors on autopilot 24/7, 365. Then next comes our omnipresent authority retargeting matrix, where you build an omnipresent filter bubble around high net worth investor prospects that engage with your platform across essentially 99% of the internet with retargeting to establish yourself as the number one perceived authority for your investment strategy. Then we move into our P2P social media system, where you transform your dead social media accounts into an automated evergreen system that educates, nurtures, and converts prospective investors in your pipeline. Then once you're in your pipeline, we move into our investor pipeline nurture automations, where you can plug in our sequence of proven and tested nurture automations to develop a pipeline of lifetime repeat investors on autopilot, allowing you to easily raise large amounts of capital quickly whenever you launch any new investment offerings with just a simple a couple emails and calls from your investor relations team. And then finally, to bring it all together, we have our Control Center KPI Analytics dashboard, where you install our Control Center CEO dashboard, which will provide you a hawk-eyes view of virtually every single KPI metric within your digital fundraising operation in order to hit your capital raising goals. So this is our digital fundraising operating system. And when you leverage InvestorFeed in synergy with our digital fundraising operating system, you're able to establish what we like to call the digital fundraising flywheel with your investor acquisition process, where you launch your investment offering to the public, you begin running paid advertising with our investor audiences to attract and convert qualified prospective investors with unprecedented efficiency, in combination with your organic social media, which is attracting new prospective investors as well, while also simultaneously educating and building connection with existing leads in your pipeline and ultimately converting them into actual investors, all happening 24/7, 365 on autopilot without any manual time or effort required from you. And then if you're actually fulfilling on your promises and providing the quality returns and benefits, then you'll also receive what we like to call the afterburner effect of your existing investors in your pipeline, referring even more investors. So you're basically achieving free investor growth with zero extra advertising costs. So our digital fundraising operating system in combination with InvestorFeed is a predictable, scalable, and self-sustaining system of investor acquisition where you can control your lead flow like a faucet and choose to turn it up or down based on your operational capacity that operates 24/7, 365, essentially on autopilot, generating discovery amongst new prospective investors, educating them and building connection through strategically created conversion content that you create once and can be viewed at scale with zero extra time or effort required from your part, and then ultimately converting them into hot qualified leads within your pipeline for your investor relations team. So this is the ultimate system to future-proofing your investor acquisition strategy and establishing a competitive edge by getting in on the ground floor of this new, better way to connect with investors and establish your data economies of scale moat, as we talked about, before everyone else catches on over the next couple years. So that was the entire training. So in section number 1, we covered the new predictable, automated, and scalable method of connecting with high net worth investors online. In section number 2, we went over how our InvestorFeed $100 billion plus investor audience network works with our base investor audiences and then also our lookalike investor audiences. In section number 3, we went over why most people fail to do high net worth investor paid advertising without InvestorFeed. We went over the false AI optimization spiral of death. We broke that down fully. And then finally, we went over our proprietary digital fundraising operating system to raise capital on autopilot for virtually any business venture. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to email us, schedule a call, or check out our website to learn more about InvestorFeed.